Welcome to Focus Fire Chat. Explore together.
Welcome back for episode 85 of Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on May 20th, 2017 on twitch.tv. Big shout out to the live chat here. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. This is your host, Blue Crew 86. Alongside me, we have the man who's still recovering from his journey to the City of Angels, Justin Sane 0516. I imagine I know the answer to this, but how has your week been?
Magical. No, it's been amazing. What a great week. I'll get into this in shout outs a little bit, but I can't thank you and Green enough for allowing me to be the face of our little merry band of people. I applaud your charity and question your judgment. But
Justin, we had to send the prettiest one, so you had to go. Just gonna say that.
Okay, this is the first time that criteria has worked out in my favor. So, no, great week. Can't say enough about all the wonderful, beautiful people that I met and all the awesome times that I had. I did manage, though, to shame the channel and the program in a way that I feel is irrevocable, and I really apologize for that. I lost the inaugural Destiny 2 reveal Mario Kart tournament.
Get out.
So
go.
Yeah. Like I feel like my video game card has been pulled. I was hanging out with N64 Josh. It was awesome individual, and we were all laughs and high fives and bros and beers, and we were having a great time. And he was about to leave the bar where we were all hanging out at, and I was like, man, dude, just anything you need, just let me know, man. You can be on the show anytime. Just give me a hug, bring it in. And then before he leaves, I just turn and over my shoulder say, and by the way, next time I see you, I'm gonna whoop your butt at Mario Kart. And he just like went stone cold and his face like complete grimace. He opens his backpack, pulls out a Nintendo Switch, and then he starts breaking it apart. I'm like, what, you broke your game? And he gives me a part of it, and he says, what track? And now we're racing Mario Kart in front of Bungie and Bell and everybody at the damn Sheridan bar. So I lost. Yeah, I lost. Needless to say, he finished. I had a lap and a half to go.
God.
So he won, and he wins the bragging rights, and I will tweet as much as well. I've been putting it off, but he is he is the Nintendo overlord. But the best quote about it of the night was when Bell looked at me like I was brain damaged and said, his name is N64 Josh. Why did you challenge him? And my response was, I say a lot of things. I'm rarely required to back them up. This was the rare time the guy had the video game system in his pocket that could prove me wrong. So good job. GG. Great trip. Let's move on.
Well, let's get through the intros, and then I'm going to come back. I want to talk to you about the entire experience, because I know a lot of people probably have some questions, and chat's kind of going at it, and I think that Green and I probably have some questions as well. I know RYNO probably does. But real quick, Mel is working while we're here playing around. Be sure to give her some love over on Twitter at the Wind of the Stars. Her schedule has gotten insane, so we're trying to figure out exactly how that's going to work out. But be sure to let her know that we miss her and that we're thinking of her. And from the depths of the madness-inducing mind maps, we are joined by our favorite Gunter, the one and only green-eyed music lover. Green, hope you're doing well. How's your week gone for you? Has it been as good as Justin's?
I've been sitting on the edge of my chair waiting. Okay, I was depressed last night because you were MIA and Justin was flying back. So I'm like, I want to know what happened. People aren't talking to me.
Yeah, well, you're mad at me for
oh my
not talking
God.
to you too. So
it's been crazy. So I tried to do some book therapy by listening to the Dark Tower series, The Gunslinger.
That's probably not the
No.
best book to listen to.
No, it wasn't. I'm more confused than ever. I mean, it's awesome, but I'm super confused as to what the heck is going on. I'm like, what? What with the mountain and the thing, the disappearing and the crazy lady on the altar and all that? I don't know what's happening anymore. Oh, but I'm good. I have my coffee. I had a martini. I'm happy.
Well, in the guest co-host spotlight tonight, we are joined by a man of crafting genius, RYNO666. RYNO, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, man. This is just Hype Nation over here.
Yeah.
Hyping up that D2. Oh,
Every
man.
podcast that drops in the next week.
Oh, yeah.
It's Hype Nation.
Yeah,
It's just saturated. I mean, there were literally probably 6 articles within 15 minutes after the D2 reveal.
And I've read one of them.
I've watched the reveal 3 times.
I've watched the reveal multiple times, but as far as
I've watched the reveal 3
articles
times. Once in person, 2 on YouTube.
Just have to keep reminding that, everybody. But
he wins. It's okay.
But like, articles. Oh man, Green and I were talking about articles a little bit, because there's a lot of potential dramas brewing around how the in-game lore is going to be handled. Quite honestly, my opinion is I'm waiting before I invest too much anger or too much excitement into it.
It's probably best to plead the fifth until we have more info. I saw a little bit of it on the Twitterverse, and that thing can get pretty heated pretty quick. But I will say this, I think just everybody can kind of agree information should just be readily accessible to anybody who wants it. And so maybe this is a good step, but maybe they just need to tread carefully, because there are a lot of people out there in the lore community that have invested countless hours and have dedicated so much of their life to kind of helping build these outside sources.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of the contention, but
right, because I know Ishtar Collective got in on a couple of conversations that I've been in, and I think the Guardian got in too. I'm going to talk about him in my shout outs actually, because he's got the Seraphim website,
so
which
cool.
is amazing. You guys need to definitely check that one out. But I know they've been talking, and I know Guardian kind of said what my thoughts are. It's like, look, as long as you don't change the API, like, it doesn't really hurt, because actually it helps, because now we have it more in game. And the thing is, as long as you're not taking that out, like, and this is kind of what I was telling Green, it's like they can't. Like, it's in the database. It's basically, are you going to make it accessible in the same way, or are we going to have to drastically change everything? So, and it's like, and so until we actually learn what the system is, it's really, in my opinion, it's like, I can't invest a lot of, passionate anger or passionate excitement into it.
right.
Because
the only thing I have.
Why would you be angry right now?
Well, if some of the fears that have been voiced about the Grimoire are correct, then I can empathize with people being perturbed, I think, because exactly what RYNO was saying. There's a lot of people who have spent, hundreds of thousands of hours behind the scenes, things that we aren't even aware of, that we don't see as viewers and consumers of content creation. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes when you're a creator that the consumer doesn't understand, not that doesn't understand, but doesn't see. Like for every hour that you would see as a consumer of content, you have to estimate that there's probably at least 2 to maybe even 5 hours worth of work that led up to that at minimum. And so, when you're talking with people on the level of Bife, of Wallen, of Mylan, these Ishtar Collective, these sites and these series that they've put together, that's a big undertaking. And so for someone to introduce something that could potentially change that underlying structure, that makes people who have that much invested very nervous.
I think that's the one thing that everybody should be focused on. And I think you're right. That's the one specific thing that everybody should be focused on. Not that your content is going to be devalued, because people in the lore community that have established themselves as leaders and teachers and educators on the lore will always remain at the pinnacle of their content creation. It's not going to go away. They're not going to be undermined by a new version of the API or some other outside source or in-game source that will replace them. That shouldn't even be a problem. And I've already heard a few people say that, but getting back to it, the very one thing that people right now are in limbo about is, and I know Uni and I, we go about this, go back and forth on this. Is the API going to drastically change? Are they going to introduce a whole nother API? Are we going to have to keep up with two separate resources? Are we going to have to, are they going to just dump everything and all that API that we've used as a platform, as a construct? Is that just going to go away? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the biggest fear, and everybody's in limbo. So, they need to tread carefully going forward on this lore button that we all.
I can definitely see the concerns from a technical standpoint, as far as the API and people whose bread and butter has been disseminating information directly from the API into, a more palatable format of, i.e., Joe Schmo, normal guy like me. I can understand those are very real concerns there. But from a meat and potatoes lore standpoint, I really don't know how you could feel anything other than excitement at watching that first reveal trailer. Like, I honestly don't. Like, maybe I'm still on the Kool-Aid. I don't know, but
no, not at all. And Green, I think you had something, but real quick, in response to that, Justin, it's not at all like that. I am. So for me personally, okay, so I'm just going to speak for me personally, because I can't speak to the other people who are creating content out there. But for me personally, my only thought is as like a kind of the spearhead for our group, for our team, right? As the person who kind of organizes notes and puts together the behind the scenes stuff, really, and kind of tries to guide the conversation as best I can on the podcast, and even to a degree in the Discord, though I definitely try to let the Discord do its own thing for the community's sake, because that really shows us where the interest is. Not that aspect of it is actually going to be a lot easier, because now the community is actually going to have a easier access point to that information. Right. What's going to change is the underlying structure of how we as a team approach our research, potentially, emphasis on that. Potentially this changes.
We don't know. So that's kind of that's the one part that, we kind of have to just plead the fifth and kind of wait and see. A lot of people are jumping to conclusions that, that grimoire is going to completely disappear, and the only way to go out and get your information zone and push a button. I mean, those are things that, we don't know if that's true or not. We don't know if these are facts or if this is how our environment's going to be from now on, And so we just have to wait and see. Hopefully they'll explain some of this, but I think it's I think it's a higher hanging fruit for those guys. The low hanging fruit is what they're always going to address first. And a lot of us lore guys out here are going to be, stuck in this limbo point for a while.
But there's zero upside to doing that. Like, I honestly, like, the raw information exists, right?
Yeah.
it exists in database form at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's zero upside to putting a wall between this whole pocket of people who disseminate the story of this game and interpret it for the masses. And I'm not tooting our horn at all. What I'm saying is you've got maybe a small percentage, less than 5% of the community, if you count Destiny Reddit, right? Or Destiny lore Reddit, and places like us and Ghost Stories and other communities, Bife's Patreon, who disseminate this lore, and interpret it and help relate it to people who otherwise would just not bother with it. So, I mean, if it was an extra process, I could see them deeming it, kind of an ancillary thing that's not really worth the time put into it. But this is something that's done anyways.
Right.
I mean, if you're talking about the lore being put directly into the UI of the game, it existed in database form before it went to the UI of the game. I can't see them saying, we're going to cut it out of the existing Grimoire format that we already have, mainly because that cuts them out of money. As they go from version to version to version, this game, eventually they're going to start publishing compendiums of this stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
There's been too much man hours put into writing this stuff to not do that.
Yeah, and they're not going to say that, that's not a valuable asset to put in game. I just think that anytime you introduce something that could potentially put a wall between or divide a community into people that just plain don't care about what's going on, or people who invest so many hours in lore, and where do the assets need to go and how much money needs to be allocated to the one particular part of the game. I think that's what kind of drives a little bit of this contention out there, that maybe some of these resources that are being pulled into this one specific aspect of the game should be better spent somewhere else. And I don't, but like I said, I don't think that's an argument we should even have until we know more.
Yeah, but I don't even see where it's like, I don't see where the legitimate fear comes from just because when they're pledging things like, I know everyone on this podcast is optimistic.
Something is going to happen that everybody can kind of live with. And Bungie's great at listening to the community, and at one point or another, it's going to be what we all want.
And I hear things like the most cutscenes that have ever existed in Destiny so far. That's a pretty big pledge. You know what I mean? Like each time we've gotten content, there have been a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And there's a growing movement towards story direction. And I can't see them kind of cutting off their nose to spite their face to say, yeah, we're going to have a renewed emphasis on story and narrative, but we're going to, codlock all the grimoire into what you can manage inside the game. Right. So I don't know.
What Bungie seems to have done to me is Bungie has been listening to us for the past couple of years and taking all of our criticisms from multiple sources, because people have been criticizing them for the fact that there's no lore built into the game, that it's not easily accessible for the people who don't want to go and sit and read for hours and hours and hours all these cards. They're bringing it in. They're doing exactly what we asked them to do. And I don't think they're going to take anything out, because Bungie is all about promoting the community and promoting this cohesiveness and promoting their story. And so it would be incredibly surprising if they pulled out a giant chunk of their community who has been carrying them on the storytelling. Because honestly, in some ways, we have been doing that for the past couple of years. It's just been telling the story for them. So
I kind of, and Green, that's kind of where I kind of lean that way as well. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, I see this as a hybridization intro to something akin to kind of how Skyrim did. Well, actually, most of Elder Scrolls does, where you have like the loading screen, snippets. You have stuff inside game, but you can also get stuff outside a game. And actually, if you go outside a game, you get a lot more. it's not, and Halo does this as well. Most of the games that I'm very fond of, actually, this is kind of a format that they follow. So sure. I'm cautiously actually very optimistic about this. But at the same time, like what Rhino was saying, is kind of like, because we don't really have confirmation on exactly the format, I'm kind of like, I don't want to be mad at them for something that they didn't do. But at the same time, I don't want to be excited for something that they're not going to do,
And that's what
it's like getting mad at somebody for forgetting your birthday before your birthday comes. Like, you got to give them a chance to forget your birthday, right?
Dude, I got you covered. I forget my own birthday all the time. It's okay.
Right?
I think the fear is that they're going to be let down, and that kind of drives that. They feel like if they give a foot, Bungie's going to take them out. But I think what they need to realize is that it hasn't been that way, and we need to kind of go off of past history. I mean, Bungie has proven themselves before, and I believe that they're going to prove themselves again.
Yeah, and I thought it was a marketing masterstroke, right? To do what they did over the last week, to invite all of these people, be their low-level content creators, their mid-level content creators, their kind of elite content creators, to this thing, along with press and all kinds of other things, and allow them a look at this, because they know the influence these people have, like people like Bife, people like, for that matter, Miss 5,000 Watts, Pope Bear, and just go on and on and on. All these people they brought into this one place for one reason: to help leak the hype that is this game. They're going to continue to lean on that. So I think taking away the tools that some of these people use to help promote their game is not very high on their list.
Right.
Well, and
I agree.
Okay, so talking about building hype, I'm going to use that as a segue. Let's talk about this big hype machine that just got concluded. Justin, go.
It was amazing. First of all, it was amazing. If you watch my Twitter, there was a red carpet, which was the first thing I noticed. Right. So basically, the shuttles brought us in, and stopped us, right, and we went through a mini maze of cordons or whatever you want to call it. Got our credentials, which made me feel super official, and then commenced to walk down the red carpet, and on either side there were Destiny 2 logos, and people were taking interviews as you were walking in, and it was very awesome. You walk into a big chamber where there is a model of the Traveler hanging, and on 3 of the walls there are brand spanking new Destiny 2 models of Hunter, Titan, and Warlock, and they looked amazing. I think I put some pictures up of them on my Twitter account, but I'll try to post those too in the Discord special event account. I was meant to do that, but it's hype train. You know how it goes. And then you walk into the keynote arena or whatever, and it just gets bigger. Like, there's giant Destiny 2 banners with the really cool image of the Hunter, Titan, and Warlock standing next to each other, like kind of in battle poses, all over the place. And it's just a who's who. And it was really fun. It was really fun. And then we did the keynote, which you guys saw. And by the way, if you want to know how excited I was about that first cutscene, just rewatch the reveal and look at the center row of seats on the left-hand aisle. And I'm right next to the cosplayer that's, I think, cosplaying a Titan, a Days of Iron Titan. And you can see me literally losing my like I'm just like, you can literally see me putting my hands in the air and just going, what? Yeah. So I mean,
nice. I was wondering if it was you hooting and hollering in the background half the time.
It totally was. I don't know if you saw. like by the end of it, I could not feel my hands, and my voice is barely here now. Like it was that good. So then after the very long, way too long, in my opinion, keynote speech by several of amazing Bungie employees, I then got the chance to actually talk to in person. We actually got to go back and play the game, which was really cool. They had stations set up for the campaign mission that we got to play. They had stations set up for PvP, and then they had stations set up for the strike. And you kind of just queued up, and whenever a station came open, whichever one you wanted to do, you went and did it. But towards the end, everyone had done the campaign, and we're looking to play PvP over and over and over again. So I just played the strike. I played the campaign mission a bunch.
Was that on PC?
No, everything was on PlayStation 4 Pro, except for they had special stations set up in the back for PC that you actually needed a blue pass, a blue tier pass to actually access. I didn't get to play that. I watched T-Rex. K-Dub and I actually chilled with T-Rex a little bit and watched him play it. And I can say this. 60 frames per second Destiny is like butter.
Oh, God. You don't want to go down this road.
No.
We've already cranked out the first hot topic that's been all over.
No.
Maybe we should go down this road.
No.
Let's spend another 30 minutes hashing it up.
Here's my question. I've watched the strike. A lot of people have posted images and videos of the strike. Everyone's posted images of the PvP, but I haven't hardly seen any videos up on YouTube of the campaign mission. Where you guys are allowed to record it?
Yeah, no. Basically, there were specific few content creators that were allowed to capture. Bife was one of them. They had to sign up for time slots, and they actually had specific times they were allowed to go to specific stations and capture gameplay. I was not one of those, obviously. Yeah, I was. Yeah, exactly. More consoles got it. Mesa had it. Bife has it. Most of the people who were allowed to capture did all three activities. They did the campaign mission. They did the strike. They did PvP. So I wasn't allowed to do that. But I can say this. There were a lot of people, content creators and just normal schmoes like me, who had significant trouble with that strike.
Really?
It looked tough.
Yes, there were plenty of people who did not finish that strike. And just going to give a big shout out to my battle buddy K-Dub and Bell Bunny, and we breezed through that freaking thing in 14 minutes.
Nice.
So, but it was not easy. It was not easy, and that was the thing that I loved about it. Like, it's almost like we've retooled damage levels, light levels, whatever you want to call it. And at least for the game that I played, the story mission was engaging and not relaxed at all. And the strike was the same. Like, it was high octane kind of pressure on you from the time you started to the time you ended, which is really good for me because I've grown really comfortable playing Destiny. I've grown really nonchalant when I'm in the raid. Not that I'm super good or anything, but it's just the comfort level of it. You know what I mean? Just, I'm kind of, if I get in trouble, I'll just jump a bunch, and so.
And hunter mentality.
Not to spoil anything, there's like a different level to the enemies you face too. Don't they start to act different as you're taking their health bar down? Yeah.
Like that final boss on that strike, if you haven't watched it, I'm not going to give any specifics, but that final boss on that strike acts very, very, very erratically and wants you to not be on the map anymore, is all I'll say. He wants you to be elsewhere.
Well, if you want a good example of it, just watch Bife's video. I mean, Bife gets knocked around, even in the meat grinder section. I mean, that is intense. Yeah. He had trouble with that for a little bit too.
Yeah, Bell and I chained deaths there for a little while, and K-Dub was like, "Really, guys? Really?" But No, it's so good. Like everything I played was really good. Even the PvP, which I'd like to talk about if we have a chance. Because I think it might actually get Blue back into Destiny PvP.
Yeah, you tweeted at me. I think here's my thing. I'm actually excited because now I'm excited about Destiny from a game mechanic standpoint. Because I've always been, and I've never flagged on my excitement for the story of Destiny ever. Like, and Justin and Green can attest to this. You know, even though I haven't been playing the game a lot recently, I've just been messing around with games that I've put on the back burner. When Destiny came out, I put some games on the back burner because I was so obsessed with Destiny. I've gotten into those recently, and it's not because of the story. It's not because of the pacing, the UI, or anything like that. It's just I don't the mechanics, the actual mechanics of Destiny. It's like it got old. So watching the gameplay and hearing the story pieces that we were able to hear from the reveal, I'm like, I actually am starting to get excited again, and that is, for me, the biggest and most awesome takeaway is the fact that now I actually want to go back and play. Well, I want to play Destiny 2. I still am not really. I'm not going to lie. I'm not really interested in Destiny from a mechanic standpoint.
I gotta say, man, after watching Destiny 2, all I want to do is play Destiny 2.
Yeah, I'm like,
imagine if you had played it. I went and played. My son was like, he wanted me to play through the mission where you first go to Fellwinter's Peak because he just hit light level on his own profile where he can get there. And I played with him today, and he was like, "Oh, Dad, they're coming from the left." I was like, "Yeah, sure." But no, okay. So I'm not going to pretend I'm good at this new. It's not even around long enough to be in meta. But playing in the Crucible, the changes to the weapon slots alone make me really excited for Destiny 2, for the simple fact that it restores this kind of concept that power weapons are to be respected. So thank you, RYNO. Thank you. So if you are a Halo guy, so the power weapons on the map are the ones that people run for. You can tell which ones they are because they're the ones that people like team kill you for, right? Yep. So the shotgun, the sniper, the sword, and the rocket launcher. Those are the power weapons in Halo, usually in like Halo 2, right? Well, those are the power weapons.
Oh, yeah, in Halo 2.
Yeah, they exist on the map, and they are commodities. Each shotgun shell, each rocket, each sword swipe is valuable. You don't want to waste them if you can help it.
Oh, my wife's favorite is the saw. She will go up and down on people with that thing.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking wicked. I think that came out in 4, right?
Yeah. The saw and the needler are my wife's favorite 2 weapons.
Pink gun.
Those, but but the thing that excites me for Halo, I'm sorry, Destiny. Oops. The thing that excites me for Destiny 2 PvP is we've taken away the special weapon kind of meta to where special ammo is not very valuable. Like you pick up special ammo and you waste those sniper shots, you waste those fusion shots, you waste those shotgun shells in a way that just kind of lets us know that it's not that hard to get new ones, right? Because you spam them. You stand on the other side of the map and spam sniper shots. The way things are now, it's completely a primary meta. So what you want is for your strongest player to be grabbing that power ammo and using that sniper, using that rocket. And it's amazing.
And I also heard the time to kill has been increased. So that's also going to cause people to play
with the weapons that they had to play with, because those are just pre-picked weapons. But the other thing is they got rid of special ammo. There's really only one other type of ammo drop, which is the purple ammo drop, which is your power weapon ammo.
because the first two slots are technically all primaries, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And then the amazing thing for me, because of the clan that I'm in, is that this is the best news I've heard from Destiny 2 so far. When a person on your team picks up heavy or power ammo to get rockets or whatever, only he gets it. So that leads to some really amusing gameplay with myself and my clan leader.
No.
It's amazing is what it is.
No.
Thank you, Bungie. You've given me a gift that we'll keep on giving for
The
months and months and
Fraggle
months.
Rage.
Oh,
No.
Justin. And not only that,
It's
when I grab the ammo, it will say Justin got ammo. Justin got ammo and show a fusion rifle, and he will lose his mind. So yeah, no, I really love it because most of the changes they made into subclasses and to grenades, because grenades are less powerful, rockets are less powerful. Everything, even sniper rifles. Sniper rifle is a 3-shot body shot with what we were playing with. Like you couldn't double shot people in the body and kill them. You couldn't stick someone with a fusion grenade and kill them in one go. Like it took most of their health and shields away, but they were still living.
Were you able to tell if the crit spots were doing more damage, like the heads, you know?
Not really. One cool thing I did notice was it seemed that melee and grenade cooldowns were normalized. So it seemed like, and granted, we weren't able to play with any kind of loadout, parameters, but it seemed like across all players, melees, grenades, and supers were about normal. And
they got rid of the discipline, intellect, and strength.
And what was really cool about that is a really good player would get about 3 supers per game. An average player, 1 to 2. Awful player, he might not get a super 1. So it really led to more engaging gameplay because you didn't have blade dancers every 3 seconds. You didn't have just spamming supers, and that's how the game should go. And I think in competitive PvP is just literally just let's duke it out with our primaries. Like we have grenades, those are trump cards. We have some secondary abilities, that's nice, but it's really gonna boil down to who is better with their primary. And what I also noticed, and this is I haven't talked to anyone about this, but it's just how I felt. I felt like there were a lot less engagements where I could run up on 2 people and get the better of them. It seemed like a lot more balanced gameplay. So unless there was a giant skill gap between the 2 players in question, 2 people beat 1 person like 98% of the time, which is the way it should be. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're triple wreck, you should not be turning the tide against 2 people who saw you at the same time they saw. You know what I mean? Like, which in a lot of times in the current iteration of the game, I'll run across 2 or 3 people, and it just works out that way. But it felt a lot more balanced, a lot more tactical, and a lot more Halo-esque. I hate to say that because I know Bungie, that's like the last thing they want to hear, but that's a good thing for me because that's what I like.
Yeah, me too. And I'm with you on that one. Halo all the way. And it's funny because Halo kind of went the other way. Their time to kill is increased. I mean, it's decreased now with their newest game, and their story is just completely gone. It's like they took a chapter out of Destiny on that when the game first came out. This is an abandoned all story. Of course, all that's going to change in the future, but
I want to have for sure coming in D2 is I want a smoke grenade. That is something I love.
Space biscuit.
I love wombo comboing. That is still, even though it's not as deadly as it used to be, that is my go-to when it comes to Crucible. So as long as that's still there, I will be happy. I know you guys didn't get to see that as far as subclasses, but Nightstalker, I want it not necessarily to be exactly the same, but I want some of the same flavor. Just like the Striker has some of the same flavor. I want my smoke bomb.
It's a space biscuit, but yes.
So talking about those space biscuit
too.
Let's talk about those. Right?
Yep.
Is that what we're here for?
Nightstalkers.
I'm gonna force the segue. I'm going to force.
No, you didn't have to force it. You didn't have to force it.
There's our round hole, and I have a square peg. It's going in.
Now we can start the show.
Phrasing.
Yeah.
Go
Thanks,
ahead.
thanks,
Start
Justin.
Hitting record now.
Yeah. So let's jump through the intro real quick, and then we will try to get back on to the topic of what we were supposedly supposed to talk about tonight before we got hyped up.
Hype.
All right, here we go, guys.
What do you pay me for?
The topic of today's chat is going to be a dive into the lore of the Nightstalker Hunters. I asked Green to put together a high-level summary of the topic, and this is what she had to say.
Go ahead. Pick up the bow. Punch through and borrow something from the other side. You'll find that it's addictive, that power. Your light gets twisted as you draw from the deep. Never mind how heavy it can get. Sure, some find it hard to summon the dusk bow. When asked their thoughts on the void, their eyes tell it all. To stalk in the night, one cannot be afraid. That's the secret. They cannot see through the blinders of their fear. To draw from the void, there cannot be fear. There cannot be doubt. There can only exist the desire of the hunt. They are the rangers, the keen-eyed scouts who stalk the darkness where it dwells. The Nightstalkers found a way to turn their void light into flame, without a single iota of solar energy involved. Their control over the void is as impressive as they are. Not so much demanding respect, as much as just effortlessly earning it from many.
Before we get into that, however, I do have a few housekeeping notes. In our last chat, we took a detailed look at the Sunbreaker Titans. If you missed that and have any interest in hearing our thoughts, please be sure to check out www.focusfirechat.com for archives of all previous chats, as well as links to the other aspects of Focusfire Chat out in the internet. If you don't mind, please give us some feedback on iTunes to let us know how we're doing and to help us to continue to grow. As many of you already know, Focusfire Chat is a cross-community gathering where the intent is to offer a week-long, in-depth view of a particular subject from within the lore of Destiny and other games. This chat begins every Tuesday morning and runs until the following Tuesday, with topics decided by the group via a poll that begins every Friday and ends on the Tuesday morning of the new chat. Every Friday, around 10 p.m. Central, we get together to stream a recap of the previous week's chat for those who are unable to participate. Please be sure to also give some support to the other podcasts in the Guardian Radio Network, found at theguardiansofdestiny.com. These include Guardian Radio, the official podcast for the Guardians of Destiny, Guardian 1, Ghost and Echoes, which also has the Destiny Audio Grimoire, and the network's newest edition, a non-Destiny focused podcast, Paragon Radio. Our next chat's going to be a dive into the lore surrounding the infamous family business of Clovis Bray. But with all that, let's go ahead and dive into the information and thoughts that the community had about the Nightstalkers. Lorebot, let's go.
Query Grimoire Database. Results found. Displaying on screen.
All right. So where better to start with than I think the Mighty Hunter, right? That's where we got to start with because it's a starting point for the Nightstalker. And actually, the Hunter card it has a very Nightstalker-y type feel to it if you really read it. Hunter. Our old worlds have grown feral, rabid beasts with teeth of rust and ruin. But such beasts are meant to be tamed or broken. Hunters stalk the wilderness beyond the city, harnessing the light to reclaim the secrets of our lost worlds. They are daring scouts and stealthy killers, expert with knives and precision weapons. Hunters blaze their own trails and write their own laws.
Dun dun dun.
I'm so a hunter.
It's not like we're biased here on this podcast at all.
That's like, so we did the Warlock episode a while back, and they're like, all of you are hunters. Why are you talking about it? I was like, I'm sorry. I was trying. I was trying to be friendly.
We're trying to be excited for them.
You people voted for this. I can't help it.
Oh, okay. Not to throw us back into the reveal, but for the Warlocks, just for a split second, for the Warlock mains, Zavala voice actor is a Warlock main. So there you go.
Did you notice what I changed my Twitter name to?
Yes.
So I played a lot at the D2 reveal, and do you know what I had to play each time? A Warlock.
I was about to say.
I didn't get to play a Hunter once. The only time I got to play anything other than a Warlock was the one time we sat down and played PvP, and Kato was like, "What's this, a Warlock?" And I sat down and it was a Titan. He was like, "Dude," and I was like, "Suck it." Sit down. I'm done. I'm gonna play this right now. But the Dawnblade is amazing, so I might actually play Warlock going forward. But I'm still a Hunter. So
right, Hunter at heart for always.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make a little card with a heart with an arrow going through it because Nightstalker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hunter is kind of that lone wolf type character for sure. And what better to actually have a lone wolf type character than to have a Nightstalker in and of themselves? Rhino, do you want to grab the next card?
Sure. Oh yeah, this is such a good one. A lone hunter stalks the night, firing arrows into the darkness. There is no hiding, no escape. In the distance, the beast falters, tethered to the void. The killing blow comes without hesitation, without mercy. There's truth in the edge of light, and beneath that truth, a deeper truth, hidden from all but a few. That truth is this: monsters need not fear the light. Do not hunt the monster, become the monster.
Such a scary card.
Can I just say something real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's something that is just striking about this one, and it is the duality it plays with the Alpha Lupi card.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that you are the wolf, you know, this duality of becoming, the very thing that you are seeking or hunting.
Right. It's interesting because this card in particular just draws to the point that that Nightstalker, with the exception of the Word of Dawn type super, this super itself actually binds. It actually binds characters together, binds the character to the actual super itself. Every other super we have does an insta kill, and it's meant primarily as an insta kill. Whereas this one literally is meant as a trap to hold you in place. Yes, you can insta-kill with it, but that's not necessarily its primary function. It's much darker and much more utilitarian than some of the other supers that we have.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, you got that you get that support class that Hunters didn't have for all of the first years.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so bad so many times. Blade Dancer and Gunslinger. What could you do?
Right.
Hey guys, I'm here to take every one of your kills.
Right.
I'll give you orbs. Nope.
Yeah.
I missed. Accuracy is horrible.
Yeah. And Hunters were never the greatest at making orbs anyway.
Yeah.
But this one does kind of give it a little bit of redeeming qualities. You have to know that's true. Gunslinger was the most god-awful at making orbs.
No.
But now the Nightstalkers make these tiny little bitty orbs.
Listen,
Stick to you.
listen. When you got to Crota and you got to the crystal room and you had to make orbs with the 2 bananas that were going to come in from each side, there were 2 people you called on, the Sunsinger and the Gunslinger. Because the Gunslinger made 8 orbs, and I think the Sunsinger made like 9 or something.
Yeah, it was something
like
like
one
that.
more.
Yeah,
One more.
right.
One more than the Gunslinger. So we could make some orbs. We just had
Once.
we just had to kill yellow bars to do it. Okay? I
Right.
don't want to
You-
hear that.
Right.
Don't
And you
wanna hear
had
the
to
nonsense.
one-shot kill. You had to
Yeah.
one-shot kill, though.
Well, that's okay. Just hit what you're aiming for. I mean,
You get
But,
the 2 knights in the room and the oversoul. That is your whole job.
I know it was really hard.
also,
It was really hard.
I all of a sudden witty repartee is just worth nothing.
Mm. There's so much good like cards in this section. All of my summary from today's kind of lore topic came from cards, mainly item cards. If you guys have never looked at the item cards,
Mhm.
totally go do that, because some of the best flavor text in the entire game comes from the different item cards.
The
Just
snark,
saying.
the snark is amazing.
Oh my god, it's so good. You get so much from Ikora and Cade that you don't hear from in any of the other grimoire. It's amazing.
What are items?
What are items?
Coming from you.
Uni just himself.
From you of all people. You of all people, Mr. Gunsmith man. Okay, that was a little angrier than I meant for it to sound. I'm sorry, Rhino.
Gunsmith, man.
Guts.
I'm not cross-eyed like Banshee. Okay,
Oh.
No.
I have
you were much
stared into
smarter
the
than
void
him.
long enough to probably annoy my wife. But
Speaking of Void, I could jump into that card if we want.
Yeah, do you want to
Let's
jump?
do it.
Yeah, let's jump into the void card real quick.
It's super short. I like
Mhm.
it. So Void says, it's fitting then that we have weaponized the unknown. The universe is defined by fundamental forces. Beneath the world of light and matter lies the vacuum, and the vast dark secrets that it contains. In the understanding of this vacuum lies the secret of void light.
Oh, there's so much to unpack from this card.
There's so much to unpack from a lot of the void related cards.
So I'm gonna be talking. I'll talk about this a little bit later when we get done with the cards. But Captain Kex put together a really awesome post over on Reddit. Oh man, I think he put this about a year ago. He put this up, and it's kind of his theory on what exactly the void is, and it's really well done. And it makes a lot of sense. I kind of come to really agree with it. But like I said, I'm going to talk about that after this last card that we have. Do you guys want to weigh in on the Void card, or do you want to talk about the Shadow Shot real quick?
I think we'll wait on the Void card because there's something I want to add to that too later on.
Okay.
Because Kex,
Let's talk.
Dragon, and we all got in a pretty good discussion on Twitter. I wish I had that captured somewhere, but we talked about the Void a couple weeks back. It was pretty awesome.
Cool. All right. Well, let's do Shadow.
Talk about the purple arrow.
Yeah, let's do Justin's favorite super ever, the Shadow Shot card. So this card says, summon the power of the void to draw back and launch a precision long-range projectile that reaches out and snares enemies with slowing, draining tethers of void light. Shadow Shot lets a hunter's dead-eye precision carve a path to new battles. So there is that card. And then real quick, to go back to the Nightstalker card, I forgot to kind of make this comment. But if you know anything, and I talked about this in chat actually as well, and I kind of find this an interesting little play on words. So I guess it's the subtitle of this card it says draw from the void, light the way. This is interesting to me because, like I said, play on words. I really like play on words. If you follow or if you know anything about archery, the word draw actually has a lot of meaning in archery. So to draw is, well, there's a lot of meanings for draw. The common example of draw is to pull or drag so as to make it follow behind, such as a vehicle. You would draw it along with you. You can also have the definition of draw being extraction of an object or a liquid from a container or receptacle. And then draw is also to take out a weapon. So, you draw your blade, you draw your sword. However, there is also a term that is used heavily in archery, and it means in archery, it's often attributed to the weight of the pool, which translates into the power of the shot. So basically what this means is the heavier the draw, the more powerful the shot. So when you have a bow, and this is especially noticeable in a regular bow, not a compound bow. Like compound bow, there's a huge technical explanation for compound bows, but I'm just talking about just a regular
Pulleys.
Pulleys. That's exactly that's the easy explanation. There's a lot of pulleys on compound bows.
Cams.
But so like a regular long bow or a regular short bow, whatever, just the standard, like your traditional bow. What a draw is when you pull that string back to actually, so you put an arrow on the string and you pull it back. When you pull that back, how long or how hard it is to pull that string back, that is the draw. So the harder it is to pull the string back, the higher the tension, basically, the heavier the draw. What that also translates into is that's a more forcible punch. So when you let that string go and it slaps forward and, hurls the arrow forward, if you have a heavier draw, that arrow is going to hit your target with much more force. This is very important, especially, along medieval battle tactics, because you see this with longbows. Longbows are naturally going to have a heavier draw than short bows. Mm-hmm. Which is really important when you're fighting, people in field plate. That's kind of a big thing. You want to be able to punch through the person's armor to actually hit the person underneath the armor. Otherwise, it's absolutely useless to have bowmen.
As well as stay out of range.
Right.
Kill their horse, and then their horse falls on them, and then they break their leg.
Just, no. Don't, oh, God.
It's a valid strat.
Why are you here? Okay. Anyways,
yeah, and then and then you have the trick shot, like the Parthians.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. God. Both of you go away.
Backwards on horses.
But so when you say draw from the void, and this was kind of a really interesting little thing that I kind of thought of when I was talking about it. I was like, as I was reading it, I was like, okay, so the draw weight of and so you also realize that shadow shot, the actual bow has a name. It's called the dusk bow. So your dusk bow has a heavy draw weight, and that is where the power of that shot comes from. Because you see this repeatedly mentioned when you're talking about the dusk bow, is that there is a very heavy price for drawing that bow. There is a very heavy price. Your light gets twisted. You become the monster. You can't fear drawing the void bow. And so when you think about it in terms of as draw weight for the actual bow, if you think about it like that, the draw weight is actually a metaphysical draw weight. You're pouring a lot of energy into this thing. You're pouring more than just technically energy. You're pouring yourself into it, and that's adding to the power. That's where the power of the dusk bow kind of stems from. So from a metaphysical standpoint, there is actually a spiritual draw that you are pulling on to fire the dusk bow. And that's where you get the fear that Tevis talks about. Right, and Green just sent me that one. It's in A Ranger Found. Tevis, actually, Tevis, I love Tevis. He says, I've had a dozen hunters ask me why it's so hard to summon a dusk bow. I asked them what they thought of the void, and their eyes told me everything. You can't be afraid. That's the secret. No fear.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't scared.
So that just to me it was always an interesting little play on words for the Nightstalker card.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting too that the dusk bow itself is actually a recurve. bow.
Yes, it is a
Which
recurve
we're-
bow. It's
we
a
were
very
talking
odd,
about-
a very odd recurve bow, but it is a recurve.
I wouldn't call it odd, more ornate.
Oh, okay. I guess that's
Yeah,
Is-
but it is just for anyone who's listening who's not into archery. A recurve bow is any bow in which the limbs or each end of the bow actually points away slightly from the bowman. So it actually is able to store more energy in this form for delivering the arrow to its target.
That's what I was getting ready to ask, if it was meant to actually increase the range and the punch of the bow in itself.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it actually is. And actually what it's for, the design of it is actually to deliver more punch, because if you have a straight limb bow, to increase the range or the feet per second of your arrow, you have to make the bow longer, right? You can pack more punch in a shorter bow with a recurve because of that shape, because of the ends of the bow slightly tilting away from the user. It just physically makes there to be more force. So someone who has to, So someone who has to fight, say, in close quarters, who doesn't want to carry a big Robin Hood, gigantic bow that's like a long bow, like Blue was talking about, that is almost 6 feet tall. Someone who doesn't want to carry that through the brush and undergrowth can have a recurve that's half that length and deliver the same force.
Makes sense.
Well, and the hunters are all about agility too, so they're going to be using it on the fly. Hey, real quick, I just wanted to kind of point out with the void bow and the way that it draws out, and it's kind of like a black mirror to a character from Greek mythology that I like to think about, Artemis, and how she kind of summons the light into her bow, and how there's a lot of different stories that kind of go off on different paths about her, but the basic concept of her huntress abilities and the way that she kind of used that bow remind me a lot of the Nightstalker class.
I can see that, definitely.
Mm-hmm. What's scary, I think, about, and just kind of direct us out of the bow itself back into the void a little bit, is that the Nightstalkers, Ikora talks about how the Nightstalkers found a way to turn the void light into flame, talking about the grenades that we use as a Nightstalker. And I say we because Nightstalker is the primary subclass that I run probably 80% of the time.
Me too.
But it's so good. It's so good. Why would you want to do anything else? It's so good. Wombo combo for life.
Double space biscuit arms
Mm-hmm.
for the win.
Yeah, but she talks about how Nightstalkers found a way to turn the void light into flame without a single iota of solar energy involved. And she says if he cared about any of the intricacies of light manipulation, Shax would say that is quite a thing. So Ikora even says that Nightstalkers have kind of figured out something that most people wouldn't necessarily think would be a big deal. But the fact that you can turn something that is void into a flame, that kind of is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough energy there, or void energy, to actually create a flame manifest. It's good. So good.
Well, RYNO, I know you said you had a conversation for the void that you wanted to reiterate. Yeah.
We're going to talk about the void?
Yeah, let's talk about the void a little bit.
Okay. Well, you go ahead and do Kex's. I don't want to take away from his because that's really the
Oh, okay. Is that like the foundation?
Anyway. Yeah. Because what we did over on Twitter was he brought that up in, he had a couple of questions in Twitter and he just kind of threw them out there. And Dragon and we kind of got involved in this long conversation about kind of the intricacies of his theory, which is really good.
Oh, God, I love it.
Yeah, it kind of opened a door for me too, and I kind of just saw it in a whole new way. I already have a really good concept and a good grasp on what the void is, just because of the astronomy factor and a lot of the different comprehension I already have about what space is and and basically the void between stars, all those things. But I'm really hyped about this part. So, yeah.
So Kex, I'm gonna link this in the show notes because it's definitely very, very worth going back and reading. But basically he very kindly provides a TLDR at the very start of this. And he says, the void is the space that houses the Ascendant Realms, the Black Garden, and the Vex Network, and how it connects light over space and time. And Kex being Kex, Kex for the win here, he provides a very, very nice picture for us to be able to see. So he goes, and as in standard Kex format, he goes through all the Grimoire cards that he's going to lay out, kind of like what we do with the podcast here. And he lays out the Void Grimoire, the Master of the Void subclass, the Void Walker card, and then I believe it is one of the quests. I can't remember. Is it just it's just the story mission for one of the story missions from Vanilla, in which Ulan Tan speaks of the light being connected to everything everywhere. And he goes on to say, and I'm just going to read what he says because, as usual, he says it much better than I could. He says, reading these cards tells a story to me. The void is a place outside space and time. It's a space between stars, and it's the absence of everything else. The void, capital V, is where Voidwalkers, Nightstalkers, and Defender Titans draw their power. But they do so in different ways. Nightstalkers draw its power to bind creatures. Titans use it to create a shield, and Warlocks walk in it to learn its secrets. I do believe that Void Light and the Void itself is something special, set apart from the other two elements. Arc is found in the binding of matter. All living things have arc light. Solar is carried within quanta, but Void Light is taken from another place and, when used against life, releases the light within. Lifesteal for Warlocks being one example. So his theory for what this place is that when Toland speaks of walking in the void and the other cards and items speak of staring into it, when we fight Atheon in the Vault of Glass, we become marked by the void and start to lose our vision. Only the cleansing of the ages keeps us going. The Voidwalker card speaks of the wizards of the Hive and how some compare Voidwalkers, again, walking in the void, with them. Wizards are the scalpel that the Hive use to cut into the universe. The interesting part here is cutting. So if this is a place between stars, a place of immense power that spans both time and space, what significance does that have on the Sword Realms and the Vex Network? So then he goes and he starts with the Sword Realms, and basically explains, the Sword Realms, which most of us know. If you don't know, it's explained in the Books of Sorrow, verse 3:1. And this is really basically, these are creations of what's called Ascendant Hive, which are immensely powerful hive creatures such as Oryx and his sisters and Crota. These are very, very powerful things. This is actually, I'm trying to remember if this was this conversation. Oh no, it was a different conversation I had about Eris that I'll touch on in just a second. But basically, he says that he believes that this space that the worms cut into and later the hive do is actually the void. The void seems to be opposite of both arc and solar, and both the worms and the hive have practiced the arts of consuming and flaying light, granted in some unknown manner still. My theory is that by practicing sword logic and feeding their worm, powerful Ascendant Hive manifests the ability to cut through the fabric or membrane that separates the void from our plane of existence. To add to this, I think that this method to pierce the veil using light or light-stealing techniques is the same method we, as Guardians, summon the power of the void, albeit with very different methods. Side note here, that is also kind of going back to the summoning ritual of your paracausal capabilities. But going forward, so when Hive cut into this space, they remove Void Light to create their realm. Void Light can be formed into shapes, evident by the Void Bow. It could be the same method that shapes the Sword Realm's content. The more powerful the Hive, the bigger the space it can cut into the void. So with this crazy theory, how does this connect to the Vex? So then he goes on to explain the partition, verse 4:8 from the Books of Sorrow, which is where we actually get introduced to the Vex by Crota. Because what happens is Crota literally cut open a new wound, which we just kind of talked about could be actually be the void light. So when he cuts a new wound into the void light, out of these things come these really crazy brassy things called Vex, and they invade the throne world.
Crota got grounded.
Oh yeah, Crota got duped. Is what Crota got.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit a Mother Crota with another Mother Crota.
Crota was the victim of conspiracy.
Yeah,
Crota was the victim of having older sisters. I will just say that as an older sister.
Girls rule, boys drool.
Yeah.
Type
Yeah,
thing.
caw.
Okay, so let me springboard real quick, and I will be as short as possible on these things because I really want to go into the void part. First off, the fabric of space and how it relates to Crota and how we think of the void. If you can imagine layers, if you took a stack of 100 sheets of individual pieces of paper and laid them on top of one another, and then you imagine each one of those as being a separate plane of existence, the void is the very space in between every one of those astral planes. Now, imagine the ability to tear through individual sheets of paper and jump from one to another.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So now Crota tears a hole, rips open a fabric. And this is a whole nother article that I did about the Morai and how they relate to the fates in mythology, but they are very much tampering with the fabric of space. We know of space as being fabric. That's the easiest way to describe it because we can't conceptualize it any other way. We don't have the sight to see what the void is in our naked eye. So we have to imagine it on a fabric plane. The fabric that moves around in space is very much determined by the objects that are in the astral plane. If you imagine our universe as one sublayer in between two astral planes and you being able to jump from one to the other, the Vex were very much on one sheet of paper. The Hive were on another sheet of paper. The Hive just happened to be here with us, and then the Vex came through that sheet as well. So when Crota was duped into tearing open this hole, thinking that he could get more powerful by understanding this new logic that he thought he had found, he was very much just opening up an opportunity for some other threat to come in and try to learn his tricks. So back to Ulan Tan and how he jumps and how I think personally he has some sort of connection to Thanatonauts and their ability to pierce the veil, which would be piercing each one of those layers or one of those sheets and being able to jump to an astral plane to gain a separate understanding. Now, a very fundamental law of void walkers is to walk the void. They have the ability to walk and try to understand what that void is. The very understanding of nothing is what we can only comprehend. But there's a very much, the absence of everything is very much where all of that energy is pulled from. In science, the void is particles annihilating and creating themselves simultaneously out of thin air. If you can imagine the void as destruction and creation constantly happening in those spaces between stars, then when you think about space, it's not a vast emptiness. It's not a vacuum. It's not the absence of things. It's actually very much everything. And so when Ulan Tan speaks about how light is connected, it's because every one of these subparticles that are existing and annihilating themselves between these astral planes, there are so many opportunities for things to jump. So that being said, when we started talking about what the void was and how it translated to light and how we can focus this energy and bring it into our paracausal abilities, one of the very things you need to kind of remove is this idea that the Forge of Life, which is one of the 4 fundamental forces of the universe. The Forge of Life is very much connected to this idea that we have on Earth, which is we're born, we live because we have a sun, we have light. Light gives us our nutrients, our essence, and kind of helps support our life cycle. When you start to introduce other ideas like gravitational forces or, strong and weak forces, when you start talking about fusion and you start talking about electromagnetics and you start talking about being able to create electricity, all of these forges that you can kind of create out of thin air, as you will, you're basically taking that matter that's all around you and you're reshaping it. If you went back maybe 500 years ago and tried to show a regular person on the street a computer, they would think you were, a warlock. They would think you were a void walker. They wouldn't understand. And so these guys in this futuristic format that we've kind of got, they've tapped into this. And so they're pulling from that knowledge. They've gained that understanding. But so Kex brought up this really cool idea about why would the darkness and light need each other? And that's I'm just going to summarize it because it kind of went off. But the idea that your ghost can channel the light, and I brought you into this because we were talking about this a long time ago, I believe on the Guardian episode when we were talking about Eyes Up Guardian and how our ghost was basically turning us into an engine that can consume and create its own light. And we thought about these different darkness zones and we thought about these different areas that we can survive, but then there's other areas we die, and how we can revive one another and we can share this light, this anima, this very, ki or chi or whatever you want to call it. And we're able to share that. So our paracausal ability transcends what normally would be perceived in somebody who just wants to devour, like the hive. So we're kind of sharing. We're taking our light and we're giving it to one another. And so we've created an environment where sharing and giving the light freely to one another has opened up a vast source of power that our enemy threats can't understand and they can't compete with. So that was kind of where we went with that. But the idea was that you can't think of light and darkness as being good or evil, and you cannot think about void as being the opposite of arc and of solar. It is what binds everything together. It is the very fabric of space. It is the very space in between those other two forces, those other two energies that we are able to tap into and manipulate and turn into whatever we want to, like a void bow. So when we're pulling these void bows out of thin air and we're taking these grenades and we're hurling them, our focus and our energy and our mind is projecting what we can understand from the very fabric of space around us and manipulate it into a physical object that can do whatever we need it to do.
I like it.
Anyway. Sorry.
No.
No worries.
That's. I mean, and so going off that, I think it was DJ in chat. We were talking about the Kex theory, and he kind of made the point too that to kind of step into the Defender Titan, right? You could even argue that. So Voidwalkers, they walk. Nightstalkers, they punch a hole and they create that binding, power.
A riff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they kind of harness the vacuum aspect of the void, because that's the primary aspect of the Nightstalkers, to bind things.
It's the connectedness of the universe. The tethering is basically taking that stream of void energy, and everything that's around you is already connected.
Right. String theory.
I know it's been. Yeah,
right.
Well, and I know you were going to go there. That's kind of a lot of scientists don't go down that road anymore. There's replace string theory, but string theory, yes. We'll just say string theory because if you were to basically point your finger at me across the room, you could touch my forehead just by the space in between your finger and my forehead because there's so much void in between us. And the idea is the string being able to touch you back because you touched me. Mm-hmm. So we are all tethered regardless of knowing it or not.
So, that just kind of clicked. If we're all tethered already, so going down that theory, if you're already all tethered, the tether that a void bow creates is just an actualization of the theoretical. Well, not the theoretical. It's a physical manifestation of the tether that is already kind of metaphysically there.
Exactly. Sort of, but it only attracts enemies if you're going to get.
Well, but but if you're casting it like the cat, like to kind of be kind of space magic-y here, the caster is as the caster, your understanding of that energy source is allowing you to choose to manifest that particular frequency of the tether so that you can control that.
And so the law of destiny in the way that they present the game to us in this triangular format, which is a trilogy, and the idea that everyone is connected, and the threes and the number and the idea of fabric and being able to tear that open and stitch it back shut, and then to be able to weave it and shape it into whatever format you want to, goes back to my previous idea about how the Morai have such a major influence on this game, and how the fates in Destiny are very much the fates outside of Destiny, which kind of create this life-giving essence that we are all, connected to one another with. And then so we decide who gets to cut and weave and spin the fabric.
Going back to the fates. So something else that I wanted to bring up too is, you think about it, void energy is the nihilistic energy. We talked about that. So the Word of Dawn, they talk about it in one of the cards where how do Titans don't realize the Word of Dawn literally can disintegrate things, or like it's their punch. Don't realize they can disintegrate things. The Void Walker's Nova Bomb disintegrates things. In some ways, the Nightstalker's bow, yes, it can disintegrate things when it immediately hits it, but in some ways, the residual effect of the stickiness of the bow, latching on to matter that is on the ground or the wall or wherever, the fact that we can maintain that void for a little bit longer seems like a not necessarily evolved state of the void attacks or the void walls or anything like that. It's just a different form of it. So they all have very similar functions. And
so, like what you just tapped onto is the idea is what is good and what is bad, and it's not that, it's how you use it, because anything can be. And I threw up something just silly but I brought up the idea of, if you use a lawnmower to cut your grass, you're using the right tool for the job. But if you take that lawnmower and you try to, cut your hedges with it, you're probably going to hurt yourself, right? So it's dangerous to mess with things that you don't fully understand. But at the same time, it's also evil if you use anything around you in an evil way. It's also good if you use anything around you in a good way. So these are tools that we've been given. We have an understanding, and what is around us are the tools that we're using with this new understanding that the light has equipped us with the traveler's gift that he's basically touched us with this new understanding of how to manipulate things around us. Because when you take that discipline and you focus it and you start to understand as you're building your skill tree on your Nightstalker class, you're opening up those nodes that you didn't have originally. It's because you've been practicing. It's because you've been getting better. It's because you've gained new understanding. However, when you get to a certain point and you've filled up your subclass tree, in order to harness one particular attribute, you've got to give up another, because that's as far as you can go with that knowledge, because you haven't gained knowledge beyond that at this moment. So if you want a grenade, if you want your void, if you want your bow to stick to a wall and gain entrapment when an enemy comes around the corner, you've got to give something up for that.
Well, and it's also if you look at it as a from a phenomenological standpoint, which is the projection of your paradigm. If you it's a projection of your worldview, right? So paradigm is a worldview. Its paradigm is akin to the reality in which you exist. So if you change, and so from a psychological standpoint, changing a paradigm it's not impossible, but it's very difficult, and it's a very powerful thing to do for an individual. And a lot of counseling deals with this. And so, but if you kind of look at it from a psychological standpoint too, if you view the manifestation of your paracausal power for the Nightstalkers, just actually this is applicable to any subclass, but if you view it as a changing of the manifestation of the abilities that you have, that could also be changing your understanding of how to manifest the light, which is kind of akin to a paradigm shift. And the thing about a paradigm shift is you can't exist in two paradigms at the same time simultaneously. Like it's not possible. You would create a paradox in which
I've never thought of that. That's actually a really good idea. I like that.
Because like
because if you're going to exist in one specific paradigm, and then if you're going to leap to another one, you can't exist in two separate paradigms at the same exact time. So you have to jump a line,
right? And hence you would technically, quote unquote, forget the ability of the old paradigm. But given the Guardians, I'm trying to think of a reason why you could easily shift, and the only thing that's really coming to me at the moment is the fact that you're kind of a blank slate when you're created as a Guardian, which would actually help you switch paradigms very quickly, because you don't really have a base paradigm to switch from. So yeah, good job. Psychological ghost band manipulations.
That's a little cruel. I'm not gonna lie. I actually have a little bit of a theory. Green actually, this is a little bit off base, but it goes back to what Green said about Ikora being a little bit impressed that we were able to summon flames without a bit of solar energy. There's actually what's referred to as the firewall resolution to the black hole paradox, and there's a whole host of scientists that suggests that if there's enough energy in quanta present at my beeping watch, there we go.
Time to go.
I don't even know. We're just gonna wait this out. So how was your day, Blue? It'll be off in a sec. There it is.
Is it a paradigm, Blue?
Got it. So I just threw that watch at the event horizon.
Yes.
No. Anyways, if there is enough energy and quanta present at the event horizon, in which to and this is actually pretty cool, in which to ignite a flame, there becomes what is known as a firewall, which makes me think of the void wall grenade from the Nightstalker subclass.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's literally what happens. So what if rather than the assumption that you are summoning the flames, what if rather the flames or the energy requisite to create the flames is always there? You're just summoning the event horizon.
I like it.
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
Do you like that?
Justin, you want to know something else about
What's that?
your watch that you just hurled into the event horizon?
It was a Casio.
Okay. Was it? It doesn't matter what it is, actually, because it's a
What
watch.
time was it when it went in?
Yeah. If you took that watch and you let it sit there at the event horizon, it would no longer run, right? It would cease to count time. You would
Right, because
therefore-
time does not happen at that
Well,
point,
it's
or at least
digital.
it happens
It's
slowly.
digital, though, so
yeah, because
does that
of the
matter?
relativity, right? We all think about the relativity. of time.
Well, in the reference frame of the watch, it would still be running, correct?
No.
Right, but to us, actually, yes, it would still to
Yeah.
in and of itself, it would run. But if we were
Well,
wearing it, if we were,
If I were wearing
the
if I were wearing the watch and I went into the black hole, it would be running to me, but not to y'all, correct?
No, the watch would very much cease to run. It would be timeless. The watch would no longer be bound by any one of the four fundamental forces of the universe. And
Crazy.
therefore, the watch would no longer count time. Therefore, you would be timeless.
You just
Therefore,
broke
you would
time.
know-
You know, I didn't
Yeah,
think there
you
was
just
anything
broke-
else that you could break, but you just broke time. Good job,
So,
Justin.
In that instance, Justin, you just became immortal.
Timeless,
And then you get squished.
You
much
get
like
noodle-
Mythic Class.
Go any further, you become noodlefied.
Also,
that's the
I-
best kind of noodles is Justin noodles.
I did want to bring this up because y'all are goofy. No,
We
okay, so you've got purple flames for your void wall grenade ability on the Nightstalker. Do you know what actually affects it has an effect on the color of a flame?
Yeah, the metal.
The fuel present. So
Right.
Yeah.
a lot of times when you say if you had a cutting
penny.
torch,
A penny. Burn
like
a penny.
oxygen acetylene torch, the more oxygen you gave it, the more yellow it would be, and so on and so forth. But a little known fact about the effects that contribute to the color of a flame is gravity. So as a flame burns, there's actually soot and extra fuel that becomes lighter, and there's a difference in air pressure that occurs inside the flame. So that actually rises, and the burning of that actually contributes to the color of the flame. In zero grav, 0G, a flame burns almost in a perfect sphere. So
Makes
in a pure oxygen, zero gravity environment,
Oh,
all of that, all of that fuel is not allowed to move because of the differences in air pressure that occur in an environment having gravity. So what you get is a blue or purple ball.
It's very much why the stars look the way they do when they're dying, and why white dwarfs look the way they do, because of that superheated gas that is burning out is not susceptible to the gravity anymore. So it's becoming much more dense and much more compact, because there is no other layer of atmosphere that it has created from all those destructive chemical reactions and asthmas.
I found what chemicals make purple fire. Blue violet color is supplied by a potassium salt and a salt substitute, which is edible. And then red violet color comes from strontium nitrate. Strontium nitrate, which is found in strontium. Thank you. Found in red emergency flares. Fun fact, you can buy pine cones that are soaked in some of these chemicals and throw it in a fire pit.
Yes,
and it's so much fun. You have magic fire, and you can really freak out young children with it and make them think you're a wizard.
The sparkles
It's so
are
good.
the best ones.
It's so good.
So here's
I may or may not have done that before.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard of this before. So another fun. Justin accused me of being goofy. So I got to live up to this accusation.
You kind of are.
All right, so here's a fun little factoid. We talk, and Pins will know where I'm going with this because my Nightstalker has a nickname, and we call him Cupid. And the reason is because if you understand the way that your super is used, it's a paracausal manifestation used by your will, right? Well, if you're a fan of, I don't know, the DC comic universe, you'll know of a character who goes by the name of the Green Lantern. Well, what you should also be aware of is there's a lot of different types of lanterns. There's a purple one.
This part.
There's a purple one.
Purple lantern.
The purple lantern.
Lantern of love.
The lantern of love. And guess what?
Star Sapphire.
We are an archer. So we're the Purple Lantern Corps who uses a bow. We are Cupid.
Who are actually really terrifying.
We are Cupid.
In the comics.
Get over it.
My.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. And that's the other thing is like the Purple Lantern Corps are absolutely freaking terrifying.
Psycho?
But yeah, they're absolutely insane. But you could argue that Nightstalkers might be a little bit insane too.
What's funny is this idea of alchemy is ever present in the game too, and these chemical changes and this remapping of the fabric of space and how we've come to understand and manipulate matter and energy into a new force. And so what I like to think of is these chemical burns and these chemical reactions are constantly happening in the universe every single second. In fact, I don't know if you've got any rusty metal around your house or outside anywhere that you can go look at, but if you look at that, that's very much on fire. A piece of rusting steel out in a field is a chemical burn. It is literally a rust burn. I don't know if you're familiar with the
exothermic reaction correctly,
but there are items in game called rust burner. And so these ideas that we are literally taking these alchemic reactions and focusing them in a different way, that's another key component to it. I mean, these are the, like Tolan said, these are the keys, right? These.
So what I heard is a new definition of a slow burn.
Yeah.
Should I give you a slow clap for that?
As long as it's faster, faster than a rust burn, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
But actually reading through all the Nightstalker cards and coupling those with what we already know about all the Voidwalker cards and the Defender Titan stuff we have, it very much seems that it's much more than a chemical reaction. So it seems a lot more, in my mind, rooted in gravity. Gravity, relativity, black holes seems to be at the heart.
It all abides by. It's not, there's not one specific central component. It's like when we go back and we say things are in layers and things are on separate planes, and we're able to grab between. You cannot think of a dot on a piece of paper and then thinking everything has to connect to this dot. In order for that dot on the paper to exist, the paper has to exist, the pen has to exist, right? So the very idea that one thing has to be at the very epicenter needs to go out the window. What we need to understand is that for reality to exist and for life to exist and for any of these other components that aim to exist, they have to abide by certain fundamental laws of the universe. And then we take that and we throw it out the window because we have paracausal abilities that are able to grasp in between those voids of space and grasp from other planes of existence. And our enemies are playing with that, and it's dangerous, and they're showing up here in our reality. So,
but my question is, what if what we're seeing when we look at a vortex grenade, what if what we're seeing isn't a vortex grenade? What if it's not a grenade at all? What if what we're seeing when we look at that grenade is light bending around a black hole?
The light you can see when it comes to a black hole, that's the only way you can see it. Is you can only see the things around it. You can't see it itself.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like what you're seeing is the convergence of light bending around a black hole. And yeah, it's very highly animated and dramatized.
You know it's there because of everything that's around it. That's being
Exactly. That's all I'm saying. Like I feel like all the subclasses.
You can't see it. It's not tangible, but you know it's there and it connects everything.
Well, yeah. It's like you're not seeing it. You're seeing the absence of it. You're seeing everything around it.
Hey, Justin, I have something you can dramatize. You want to read something for me?
Dramatize. I can dramatize anything. What you got?
I put it in chat for you. It's one of the cards.
Oh, we're reading cards still? Okay.
It's just one more.
No, I'm just messing with you. Okay, there we go. Picking it up is the easy part, Hunter. Putting it down again, well, you'll find that it's addictive. That power. This weapon is something special. I just went completely. This weapon is something special. Your light gets twisted, changed. You find the power to punch through and borrow something from the other side. The void opens up a hole and draws from the deep. Go ahead, carry it a while, Hunter. You'll feel how heavy it can get. Gate 6. Nightstalkers trail. Shut up, Blue. God. It's hard enough. I thought you being all chuckle house in my face.
I'm just glad there's no webcams going on.
I would have died.
This weapon is something special.
The void opens up a hole.
Oh my god!
If you analyze this card, when he says picking it up is the easy part, Hunter. Putting it down again, well, you'll find that it's addictive. So, do you think? And we're talking about the void, and I know that there's nothing that connects him. But in Ulan Tan's idea that light is connected throughout, and we can punch through and borrow something from the other side, like it says in this card. And like I was saying about the layers and then the space in between the layers, and then the Vex showing up in our reality from a separate reality. But then there's also the voided space in between those layers, which is where we postulate the hive exists. So when you think about the deep and you think about the void as being the deep and that space in between, would you say, because we know Ulan Tan, or it's theorized that he's dead because he has a freaking burial ring, right? So do you think that he could have gotten too close to something that was connected to this very warning right here in the Nightstalkers trail?
I mean, it's difficult to say. I kind of view the void, and this is just my own headcanon, nothing, I mean, science-wise at least. The void in my head is a light-contained version of antimatter. And we contain it, and we manipulate it, and we punch through. So think about what we experience every day. What we experience personally every single day is matter and objects around us. So we punch through the other side and pull the opposite of it. We pull antimatter, which is incredibly volatile. And we contain it with the light, or we manipulate it with the light. And the fact that Ulan Tan and all those other people who got used to manipulating it, somehow getting either too close to it or something else happened to them, I mean, it's possible. But I don't necessarily think it in of itself is detrimental. Mm-hmm. It's just another force. That's true too, Blue. I mean, that's assuming that Ulan was an actual guardian.
Right. And maybe he wasn't. Maybe that's why he's dead.
Yeah. Well, and that's the defense that I keep going back to. It's like, he's dead.
Well, but we all know he's more trouble dead than he was alive, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, and we know who else has been kind of a stinker since he's been Well, he's dead, but not dead.
Well, Toland is just kind of a pain in everybody's butt, but
And then there's another stinker that's dead, but not dead, right?
the guy in the Vex
Yeah.
time loop.
Yeah, he's really not dead though.
Well, he never
Osiris
existed.
lives.
So let me put this in another triangle for you. So we have Osiris.
I like your use of triangles.
Thank you. We have Osiris living on a sheet of paper, right? We have Toland living in between sheets of paper, right?
Osiris is Lord Voldemort. Voldemort confirmed.
Okay, and Ulan Tan, he's connecting those two dots.
I thought Osiris had eyebrows.
I thought he had a nose.
I love how Justin misses the entire triangle. He's like, whoa, wait. Osiris doesn't have a nose? Like what?
Yeah, well, like what?
I need more
He could
dots.
totally take over a school for kids. Like he could make that happen. That wouldn't be that hard. No, I mean I could see that.
It's
Look, we're talking
difficult
about
to
the
connect
void,
some of the
and
characters.
you can't describe it. So all you know is that it's there because we have things that we can see and how it affects those. It's just like the fabric of space. We know it's there because of how things float around, and they affect each other because they're swimming in this big soupy mess.
Well, we know it's there because mathematically we know it's there. There's no actual visual.
Because we can analyze the floating booze around us, which is matter, and see how it swims in that very nothingness, right? So if the Vex were brought here because, Crota tears open a hole from another sheet of paper into his realm, and
That's
then they're all of a sudden,
Crota.
and they're all of a sudden everywhere now. I mean, what other dots are there, right?
That's a fair point.
Crota opening his wormholes. Gah. Thank you for getting the pun, Blue. I appreciate that. Thank you. I worked hard.
Infant.
What is it? I forget what it was.
You infantile imbecile.
I need more dots.
More dots.
I do you need more dots or do you need more lines? See?
Right.
That's the type of paradox you're talking about here. I mean, yeah, everything's possible. I think the void quite possibly is the opposing force to the light. It's what probably we call the darkness, but really,
nope.
The darkness isn't the void. It's more simply a driving force escaping the void. So
everything is a force, and everything is a force in nature. What we have, what we argue against is a personality, possibly another being, another will.
Oh my goodness.
So, no, I'm not saying the darkness is the void, Blue. God, read a book.
Blue's like yelling in chat for those of you listening to the podcast later. He's literally screaming in our private chat.
I'm not saying the darkness is the void.
Said it.
No. It's not what I was trying to say. I might have accidentally said that, but that's not what I was trying to say.
Darkness has a malevolent personality, a will driving it. The void is not that. The void is natural.
The void is devoid of personality completely. It's devoid.
Devoid. But
no. I mean, what I'm saying is light trying to escape a black hole is what we're dealing with here. The void is literally an instance of gravity that is so dense that even light can't escape it. That doesn't make it evil. That just makes it a natural phenomenon.
Mm-hmm. So light will find a way.
Aww. I want a song to plug in here in post.
I love that Justin's just no. All right, before we
turn on your hot light.
Oh no, not that one.
Not that one. Do you want to roll the dispatches before we get completely?
Let's do it.
All right.
Dispatches from the wilds.
All right, guys. So we got one, and you know what, Justin? I think you like reading these, don't you?
I do. I really do. So this is from Beyond the Fell-Handed and Mecha Druzilla. Hello, FFC crew. Bjorn and Mecha Druzilla are back again, this time with some Nightstalker fun. Many before you have failed to summon the bow. To draw its forces you to stand at the edge of the light. To draw it forces you to stand at the edge of the light, sorry. For it's not the courage to pack. It's not the courage of the pack that makes it. Wow, reading are fun. They call it the light of the pack, but they do not understand. In the void, you are alone. You are quiver to its envenomed. Oh, snare, bloodbound to a black hole. Are you afraid? Ours is the way of the fearless. When courage seems to vanish in smoke, dare to step into the shade. Be a predator. Draw the bow. Make the dark fear. I like that. That's a good one.
They do
Also,
some good work.
And as
There was
always, I will throw that image up in the Discord and then also over on the Facebook album.
like there were some moderate words in the beginning, but then some small, difficult words in the beginning and the middle that really gave me some trouble.
Reading.
Reading are fun.
Yeah.
Oh man, so with that, let's go to the final comments or the shout outs. RYNO, what do you got for us? Any shout outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, I mean, I just shout out my boys at mulehorngaming.com. You know, I write articles whenever I get a wild theory or something connects one of these dots on my pieces of paper. And so I post them there, but I also put links on my website. You can go there at ryno.com or ryno666.com. That's RYNO 666. Or you can just find me at Twitter and see me ranting and raving and doing all kinds of crazy antics there at RYNO_666. But yeah, you know, mainly you guys. I want to shout out to you guys because you guys have been you know, a big influence on me, and I'm glad I kind of have a place I can find home and kind of just, you know, share my crazy antics and have a place to kind of watch everybody, you know, be all these awesome ideas that I get to see every day. So yeah, kudos to you guys.
Aww.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then Green,
Sweet.
what do you got for us?
I just want to thank RYNO for not only joining us tonight, but being crazy awesome in the Discord. Not only does this guy do a lot of work on just normal week-to-week chat for each of our topics, he also has a whole thing that he works on about all the guns in Destiny and all the weapons. So if you ever have a question about any of the weapons in Destiny, hit this guy up because he's got so much information on all of it. And we're actually working on a big project sort of together-ish. We've been working on it. A bunch of people in Discord are kind of joining in to kind of pull everything together for him. So I want to thank RYNO for being one of the content creators in this community that kind of gets underappreciated, I think, for all the work that he does.
Thanks.
Yeah. And then not only for you, just the community in general, all the people in our Discord who works behind the scenes. There's so many people who don't get recognized on a weekly basis. I mean, there's Blue, Justin, and I who are we put out the show, and Blue honestly makes it look really, really easy. But there's so much work that goes on in the background that nobody sees, that everyone puts in. Everyone puts in their thoughts and their topics, and people are working on mind maps and doing all these different things and book club. And honestly, we would not be a community that could put on a show like this if it wasn't for you guys. So if you're in our Discord chat and you are contributing in these kind of ways, thank you so much. And if you're in our Discord chat and you're not contributing like this, that's awesome too. You're there, you're participating, you're watching. It's okay to be a lurker. It really is. I was a lurker for about 2 months before I decided to say something.
But if you want to contribute,
totally feel free.
Oh my God, we're so open to that.
Even if you don't feel like you can jump into Discord chat with any of like the major topics, DM somebody. Just start talking, because that's part of the way we learn. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Any of moderators, hosts, any of us, we'll feel free. I mean, we'll message you back. It might take us a while to get back to you, but we would love to have chats with you guys about it.
Yeah, I got to get my wife more active in that book chat. Dark Tower is her.
Oh my God, it's so good. I'm so confused. So confused as what's going on.
Shout at my wife and ask her any question you have about it, because she knows everything there is to know about it.
I'm afraid to ask.
The problem is with that series is you ask a question, you're like, I want to answer you. There is an answer. But if you haven't read all of it,
See,
it really
I'm excited because
it.
Sean, the art guy who's in our Discord chat, he's actually my buddy from college who got me into D&D. And I finally pulled him back into talking into chat because this is his favorite series too. So it's like, yes, slowly but surely I'm converting him to one of my nerddoms.
Yes. All right, Justin, I know you have a list that continues to grow as I'm talking.
You people keep taking a long time. It's a long night.
It's my fault. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, real quick, want to give shout outs to the following. My roommates for the D2 reveal, Bell Bunny and Ballistic Kitty. Awesome. Bell, hope you made it okay. And Ballistic Kitty, hopefully the spider left you alone at some point. Big shout out to my battle buddy, K-Dub. Everything I shot at the D2 reveal, I shot in close proximity to K-Dub. We shot stuff together. There was bonds that were made. And I can only really realistically assume that it was because Mark wasn't there. But it's okay. I'll be the perman's turcotte. And great big shout out.
Shout out to that podcast.
Yeah, shout out to that podcast in question. I think it's called like Guardian Schmadio or something like that. I don't even know what it's called. It's really good. You should check it out. They're good. Let's get the word out, up and comers.
Oh God.
So
he's gonna get on to you for that. I'm gonna be watching your Twitter, like, whoa, waiting for that comment.
You overestimate who watches me do things. Also, big shout out, and this is because I lost a bet in 64 Josh for becoming the Destiny 2 reveal Mario Kart champion, in that he beat one person, that being me. Great job. And Morla Gordona, amazing to meet you. Awesome human being. And actually told me some juicy stuff I can't share with anybody. So, wow. And Bo. Blue, how do I say the full name?
Bo Amos.
There you go. How do you get that from a 5? I don't know. But yeah. Bo Amos. I actually got to meet our beloved Bo. So that was awesome. And other than that, I can just say hype. hype,
Mhm.
hype.
Jealous of you meeting Eris, by the way. Super
Oh my-
jealous.
Irma Gerd, she's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, email topics for next week is going to be, as we stated at the beginning, Clovis Bray. We're going to do a lore dive into Clovis Bray, the man, not really a myth,
Company?
but the company. I don't know. And then also big shout out. Well, okay, first off, big shout out to our new patron. I think it's Kojans. If I butcher your name, I apologize. I am pretty notorious for butchering screen names, and then Justin taking that and changing your even podcast name for it. So
Coaches?
Yeah, okay. And then also, so thank you so much for your support. And then a big shout out to I guess I don't know if it was last week or the week before that the Seraphim archive kind of went up. This is a site that is I guess it's a project that the Guardian 21 has kind of put together. And it's basically a central hub for the lore of Destiny. The archive is designed to be a great step, if not the first, into the lore of Destiny. The lore of Destiny is expansive and complex. It is spread out of hundreds of Grimoire cards, missions, cutscenes, dialogue, and item texts. So this site cannot present all of the lore of Destiny, but is built in hopes of giving you as much information as possible in one place. So with all forms of knowledge, it is never complete, the questions will never cease, and there is always more answers to find. The lore of Destiny is the same. With new information or changes in the story, nothing could ever be taken as gospel truth. Everyone who tells the lore has their own interpretation and ideas. Keep your minds open and eyes up, Guardian, is the description that Guardian 21 has put on the site. It is an amazing site. It's very... So we have
summaries.
Yeah,
lots of
that's
summaries.
What I was about to say. It's very similar to the concept of Ishtar Collective, but where Ishtar Collective is a great repository for the specific cards and the specific items and very specific text. Seraphim Archive really is kind of more like the 50,000 point view of the whole story. So Ishtar is like the granular, in the weeds conversations, and there are summaries on Ishtar. Purple Chimera does an amazing job with the summaries there. But the difference here is Seraphim is more of, like I said, like a really broad summary of the different topics, and it's all presented on the same page, really. Guardian has it broken out in different like chunks of data, and it's mostly around the way that the game actually came out. So you have like a vanilla, then you have like I think he has like it broken out by the DLCs. I think, if I'm remembering this right.
Slightly by timeline.
Okay.
Because if you start with the prologue of Destiny, it starts with Books of Sorrow. So it talks about ancient past first, working to where we are.
So yeah, and it's just and then also the other really cool thing that he's done in this site is underneath each summary he has icons of different content creators of various types, of which we have actually been listed as one, and that's a huge honor for us. But so what he's done is not only does he show which content creators have talked about which aspect of the summary, he actually has it linked to specific episodes. So this is like a
I love this part of it.
Detailed aspect. So you read the summary, which, I mean, some of the summaries are pretty long. Most of them are usually about 2 or 3 paragraphs. And then at the bottom, there will be our icon, ghost stories, Bife, if he has a YouTube video. I'm trying to remember who else.
Ishtar Collective. Mylan.
Yeah. Mylan. And is that, I know he's adding to them, but anyways,
right.
Underneath each summary is that link, and you click it and it will take you to the specific episode or the specific video about that topic that creator has put together. So not only is it kind of a directory and a summary of the story of Destiny, it's actually kind of a back end collective version archive of our own content. So, you know, for me, that's just like, that's really a really ingenious idea, and I really actually really like it. So definitely give that site a check if you haven't already. And I think that's all I got for this week. Oh, well, yes. If you, I'm going to get yelled at. If you've been paying attention to Twitter, this kind of came public today. We are going to be doing there is going to be a lore panel hosted by Bife at GuardianCon this year. I am going to be on it along with Leah Loves Chief and Mylan. Mylan is actually, we got confirmation that Mylan is actually going to be able to make it out. So we are going to be doing that. I think it's scheduled for
day 2
at noon.
Around then.
Okay. I was trying to find a schedule that was not like ironed it out, but I think that's what it was. So
if you want the time for it and you haven't watched the info drop, go to Guardian Con on Twitch and go to the last stream that they did, because Kevin and Goth and Broman did a info drop, the last info drop for Guardian Con, including the schedule for the podcast room as well as the main room, and hit that up and just watch it. There is currently a document that's floating around on Twitter. There are some points on it that are incorrect. I heard Kevin say that today in his stream. So don't think of that document. If you see it on Twitter, don't think of that as absolute truth. It's a little bit messed up, and Kevin's going to have her change that a little bit.
Sweet. Okay, because I think was that Uber Ginger put that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, she does a really, really good job with summarizing those. So I've been depending on her. She's been doing amazing. So thank you for that. But yeah, so yeah, we have a lot coming up. And so yeah, until then, we will see you. We're going to stick around for a bit of an after show, obviously, as always. And we'll see you back in Discord. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes each week, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Links to all our other sites can also be found with our episode archives over on www.focusfirechat.com. Thank you again, RYNO, for joining in on the conversation. I'll be sure to get your contact information up in our show notes for anyone who wants to continue chatting with you. Please be sure to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com with any feedback or questions for our team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback on iTunes as well. Also, make sure to check out our partner podcast within the Guardian Radio Network over on theguardiansofdestiny.com. So, until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.